Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the world's okayest PT, or physical therapist. This is going to be a podcast of the raw, unfiltered thoughts of me, a physical therapist, talking to you all about things that are either going on in the industry, going on in the fitness world, or just talking about what I am seeing either culturally or societally or what have you that pertains to physical therapy. And we're going to be starting today with what is physical therapy. Now, physical therapy is the science and art of using exercise or physical interventions to improve function. Now, that's very, that is a very weak definition, isn't it? But it's a very broad definition on purpose because physical therapy basically wants to figure out how to use your nerves, your muscles, and your joints in order to improve your function. So if you present to the clinic with some sort of range of motion limitation, let's say you can bend one knee more than you can bend the other, or you can raise one arm higher than you can raise the other, or you can look left more than you can look right. All sorts of things like this. Physical therapy's job is to go in there and to try to improve your function to get you back to doing what you want to do. That's why every physical therapist that you ever meet during your evaluation will say, "What's your pain level, 0 to 10?" Because they want to know how much pain you're in right now, and they want to see if they can get that number cut in half. Usually, they're going to ask you what you want to get back to doing. So that could be walking, jogging, running, powerlifting, whatever. And they also want to have some sort of test that they can use in order to measure your function and see if they're having any measurable improvements. And that's where you get into the measuring of your range of motion or your strength or your strength. A lot of times this can also include balance if you're having balance deficits, or it can include your increase in weights if you're really working into specific things like a power lifter. But physical therapy is basically designed to go in there and improve your strength and your range of motion and your neuromuscular control by improving the way in which your brain and your muscles talk, which then results in better optimized movement. Now, without getting too in the weeds, the reason why physical therapy works is because human beings are made to move. And what happens a lot of time is that we don't move. So a lot of times you're dealing with someone who come into the clinic, they sit all day, and they have either shoulder pain, they have back pain, they have neck pain, they have hip pain, or whatever. And usually what you're dealing with is a general lack of mobility. So physical therapy just wants to go in there and improve mobility. Now, also very common. Someone comes in and has a lot of weakness in one arm or one leg and not a lot of weakness in the other leg or the other arm. And then what physical therapy tries to do is restore the function of that limb to make it equal to the other limb. Put very simply, physical therapy is just trying to come in, either restore function that's been lost or improve function that already exists in order to help you meet your goals. Now, there are several different settings. There are actually many different settings, but I'm going to keep it very general settings for where physical therapy takes place. It takes place in hospitals, which would be inpatient. It takes place in skilled nursing facilities, which is where you can think of our senior citizens. It takes place in outpatient clinics, and in outpatient clinics, there's lots of different types. There's outpatient clinics for children, pediatrics. There's outpatient clinics for sports. That'd be a sports-specific ortho out setting, for example. There's even some that focus on specific post-surgical types. So you could be dealing with knee replacement and hip replacement specialists or what have you. There's also what's called vestibular, which is where you're dealing with vertigo and other conditions such as BPPV. There's neurological, which deals with post-stroke. There are lots and lots and lots of different disciplines. And so while I'm talking about what is physical therapy, I also want to provide you, the listener, with the information to find the best physical therapist for you. A general outpatient physical therapist clinic is typically going to have different people in the clinic that specialize in different things. For example, as a student, I worked in I didn't work, I guess I was a student, I wasn't paid, but I was in the clinic and they had foot and ankle specialists, there were several of them, and they had one generalist who could do shoulders and everything else. So when you go to a physical therapy clinic or when you're scheduling an appointment to a physical therapy clinic, you can ask the person scheduling. This is perfectly fine. You can ask them and say, hey, what specializations do you have for your clinicians? Is there a physical therapist there that specializes in shoulder and knee and hip and ankle and low back, whatever? And they'll usually be pretty honest with you and say, hey, we don't actually have any ankle specialists, but we have one guy who's pretty good at everything. Or they might say, hey, if you're looking for the ankle specialist, it's our sister location located over here. And it is definitely worth consider driving a little extra distance in order to get to that specialist. It will just save you time and money in the long run. If you're dealing with a generalist, I'm speaking as a generalist, if you're coming for the world's best ankle care, I'm not going to be able to give it to you. That's why the title of this podcast is The World's Most OK PT. I can get you better. It will take me longer because I am not a foot and ankle specialist. Now, the better I get and the more time I spend dealing with feet and ankles as a generalist, the better I'm going to get as well. But I am not the world's leading foremost expert, which means I won't be able to get you back to doing what you love as fast. And that's true for shoulders, true for cervical, true for lumbar, true for hips, true for everybody. But a true generalist is going to be really good at helping everyone with everything. And to be honest, a lot of people don't need a specialist. They do need a generalist. It's not often that someone needs to see the foot and ankle specialist because they're rare and they have a special condition. It's almost never that case, right? It's almost always more they have a weak ankle and it needs to be strengthened, or they have range of motion limitations and they need to be improved. Now, talking along these lines, it's also important to consider what physical therapy company you're looking at to go to, and you might be limited in your area of which clinic you can go to. There might only be one in your entire clinic. Could be more, could be lots. If you're in a city, of course, you're looking at more and more options. If you are in a rural area, you're probably looking at maybe one or two. But let's quickly talk about two different types of clinics, private and public. Public clinics are going to be much more interested in seeing numbers coming in and out of those doors. A publicly traded physical therapy company or part of a company is going to be numbers driven. That means they're going to be trying to see as many patients at one time as they can to maximize both their salary and to maximize the profits that they can make as a company. Private is almost always going to be less patients a physical therapist is seeing, and it's going to be focused on more one-on-one care. Why? Well, as a private practice, you have to make sure that your patients are happy and they keep coming back, and you have to be able to compete with the public. The public PT is going to be cranking out numbers all day. They're probably going to be seeing upwards of probably 45 to 50 patients a week. Private, they might only be seeing one patient per hour for 8 hours a day, which ends up working into 40 maximum. And that's if every single patient shows up and no one cancels. So if you want better care, in my opinion, you should be going to the private physical therapist and you should be asking for a specialist there. If you go to a public, it's not that it's worse and you're going to get treated terrible, but it is a higher likelihood of you being treated as a number instead of as an individual. And it might be a little bit more formulaic and a little bit less tailored to what you want. I am biased. I have been in both settings, and I've even been in the federal setting for a little bit. But I have my opinions, and that is that private is typically a little bit better, and they care a little bit more. That does change when you get into higher density population centers. If you end up working at a private setting and you are a service member, that maybe it's as I was, sometimes you're just out of luck. You get sent to a clinic because you don't have a choice, and they're more number driven private practice instead of being individual driven, and you just kind of get stuck with what you got. So while these are gross generalizations that are generally true, they are not gospel and they are not 100% every time. Now, with that in mind, private versus public, and private being a little bit better than public, at least your chances are better of getting better care there. We also have to talk about why they're better, right? Public is better because they're beholden to the stockholder. They have to be making money for the stockholder. the branch or the entire company is having to pump out money in order to give to the corporation, for the corporation to make money, to then prove to the stockholders, hey, we're meeting our quotas, we're profitable, and we're making money, and we're growing. Private doesn't have to do that. A lot of times private will get bought out by public, right? We see that all the time. But sometimes some private companies choose to stay private no matter how much money they're offered, because they love what they do and they know they're providing better care, and they're a little bit more ideologically driven in that sense instead of profit driven. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of the different types of PT, the different disciplines of PT, and what PT is supposed to be about. Again, it's all about helping you get back to doing the things that you want to do by improving your range of motion and your strength. And now I've tried to lay out a little bit of a roadmap for you to know which physical therapist you might need to visit in order to help you the most. Again, like we talked about, just to rehash it, you're always going to want to ask to see if they have a specialist for whatever body region you care about. So it's shoulder, hip, knee, back, whatever. You can always call the clinic and say, hey, I'm looking for a physical therapist that specializes in the shoulder. And you're always going to want to try and look at private first instead of public. But again, I get that that's also limited by insurance. Some clinics only accept this type of insurance, and others only accept a different type of insurance. There's also ones called cash-based, but of course that's where you have to pay out of pocket. And real quick, before we close out then, let me break down the difference between insurance-based and cash-based, because this is another dimension in which physical therapy exists. A cash-based physical therapy clinic is going to be exactly what you expect. It's going to expect cash per hour. So you might only walk in and pay $120 for an hour. And that whole hour, the PT is going to be focused on you and what you're asking them. And they're going to be really focused on trying to get you better, because you are now paying per hour and they want to help you improve. And your time is their money. Insurance-based is not the same way. Insurance-based is if your insurance is accepted by that physical therapy clinic, plus or minus a copay, of course, you're going to go into the clinic and you're going to get care, and it's going to be between 45 minutes to an hour typically. And depending on your type of insurance, the physical therapist is going to do different things. So, and the incentivization of the insurances causes different behavior for a physical therapist, but I will touch on that in a later episode. But all you need to know is, in cash-based usually means you're going to get more bang for your buck, and that physical therapist is going to be a little bit more driven to help you, because you are now a paying customer by the hour. And they're going to be more interested in helping you achieve your goals. And they're not going to have to use the same process that insurance-based PTs would. Insurance-based PTs are beholden to the insurance company. We have to prove to insurance companies that we are making measurable progress for you. So if I don't improve you in 8 weeks in any measurable way, insurance can say, what are we doing here? I don't understand why I'm covering for this. You're not making any progress. It's clearly not working. They need to do something else. We're cutting you off in terms of visits. For cash-based, you can go as long as you want. As long as that PT is willing to accept your money and to treat you, you can keep going. And so what you see happen sometimes in some clinics that have both cash-based and insurance-based is you'll start out insurance-based, and then for whatever reason, if your insurance says, hey, you've maxed out your visits, or you've maxed out the amount of money we're willing to pay, a lot of people will switch over to cash-based, and they're willing to pay out of pocket to keep getting the same care because they know that they need it. So, in summary, in the last 15 or so minutes, what I've covered is, what is PT? It improves your range of motion and your strength in order to improve your functionality. We've covered a little bit of different disciplines of physical therapy. Pediatric, vestibular, outpatient orthopedic, neurological. We've covered different settings for physical therapy: hospital, skilled nursing facility, outpatient. And now we've covered cash-based versus insurance-based, and we've also covered public versus private. All of that is just a little glimpse into what is PT, and a little bit into how it's kind of shaping up here in the 2020s, and how you can optimize and discover what physical therapy setting and what physical therapy or what type of physical therapist would be best and most beneficial for you. So, thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Please check out the Etsy shop for merch. Please consider checking out the YouTube and the Rumble, and dropping a like and a subscription there, and a comment on what you want to see next, what you want to hear next. Now, everybody, stay healthy, stay fit, stay awesome, and I will catch you all in the next podcast.